What's up everyone, this is JV here from JVIT, the channel designed to serve you through the means of technology. And today's video is a follow-up to one I made just a couple weeks ago, talking about the current chip shortage and how that could affect your decision to purchase an Apple device, whether now or a little further down the road from now. So if you haven't seen that, I would encourage you to click up on the link in the YouTube card or in the description below and check out that one, then come back to this week's release. But today's video is for those people that are ready. You're like, JV, I thought about it and I'm ready to go. I just need a little help figuring out which device I want to pick. So if that sounds like you, then stick around. Alrighty you guys, so today's video is all about which device will be right for you. And at first it can be a little confusing because you take a look on Apple's site, you look at, maybe some of the MacBooks, the portable ones, the iMac, the Mac Mini, even the iPad Pro, and you're like, well goodness, they have all the same specs inside. How do I decide on which one I need? And at first it could seem a little daunting, but then at the end of the day, and I say this because I experienced it, right? You take a step back and you're like, all right, well maybe these are all just really capable machines, and it takes some of the guesswork out of it. Instead of saying which parts are good, what's better than the other, you could just say, all right, they're all just as capable, what works best for me, right? Which is a pretty cool place to be, and not always the case when it comes to technology. Now there are just a few things I want to advise you on that if I were in your shoes, I may want to consider, and it could also help save you hours of research that I did for you. So I want to make your lives a little easier. So you could start by just asking yourself a couple questions. The first one is, what am I going to use this thing for, right? Are you a heavy graphic designer, a video editor, some sort of engineer that designs cool things like bridges and submarines and roller coasters, right? You tend to do things that draw a lot on your computer's resources that kind of make it hot or make the fan spin. If so, there are a few devices I might want you to consider. One, the MacBook Pro if you're going for portability. Two, the iMac if you're looking for something with a screen. Or three, if you want a real bang for your buck, the Mac Mini is incredible. And that's if you already have a monitor that you like, because it's just a little desktop computer. And now I want to tell you why I chose these three devices for people who might consider themselves more heavy or power users. And there's one reason alone, and that's that these devices, the MacBook Pro, iMac, and Mac Mini, all have a fan. And now first I could see you going, you're like, well JV, goodness, if I'm looking for a house or an apartment, I wouldn't buy it because it has a fan in it, right? But at the same time, these computers are different. You can't just drop one in, at least not to these Apple devices. If you like, whatever they come with is what you're set with, for the entire time that you have the device. So the thing is, computers get really hot really fast, especially if you're in a career or hobby that tends to really push the computer hard and get the most out of its resources. So what ends up happening over time is it's a very tight space. Your computer gets hot, and eventually it starts to damage or wear down the parts. Now, thankfully, the computer engineers, the people who design these things, have thought about that, and they're like, well, let's introduce this thing called thermal throttling, right? And the short version of thermal throttling is your computer saying, hey, it is getting way too intense, way too hot in here. So what I'm going to do in order to drive the temperature down is I'm going to make the computer underperform. So it causes it to underperform, so that way it's not pushing as hard, and the computer over time, over however many minutes, ends up getting cooler. So it preserves the life of the machine, but at the same time it's still pretty hot, to the point where as humans you can feel the heat, right? You're like, geez, I could cook an egg on this thing. So the device is still hot, and your computer starts to underperform. So then you're like, oh man, maybe I need to click on the Calendly link in the description below and set up an appointment with JV, which if you do need computer help, you're certainly welcome to do that. So again, it causes your computer to underperform intentionally to preserve its lifespan. So now the thing is, if you have a computer without a fan, that's more than likely going to happen, especially as you're pushing this stuff. However, if you have a computer with a fan, then the nice thing is it raises that threshold, because that fan is actively keeping your computer cool. So the harder you push it, is it perfect? No, but at the same time, do computers with fans and that active cooling tend to last longer and be healthier over the course of your time with it? Absolutely. So if you're a heavy computer user, MacBook Pro for portability, iMac if you need a screen, and Mac Mini if you just want an awesome computer and you already have a monitor that you like. Now, for the folks that are in the lighter crew, right? Maybe you're a college student, you're doing research, you just look things up online. Maybe you like streaming services, Netflix, Hulu, you pick your streaming service, music, just kind of casual stuff. Then I would encourage you to look at the following two devices: the MacBook Air or the iPad Pro. Now, there are a couple advantages to each, and I'll go over the iPad Pro first. The iPad Pro is pretty cool if you're an artist, right? You can get the little Apple Pencil. You can, do all your artwork. You can kind of doodle. It's a lot of fun. That's actually what I'm using right now. Just fantastic. I've wanted to get into artwork for a while. It's something that I enjoyed as a kid, but really got away from over the years. So if you're an artist, iPad Pro might be great for you. The one thing though, I want to talk about the MacBook Air because it's a really impressive device. Again, if you consider yourself on the lighter side of things, maybe you're not an artist, but at the same time you're not into pushing your computer to the max all the time, right? The MacBook Air is a fantastic computer. It's got a very capable M1 processor. You could get up to 16 gigs of RAM if you'd like, as much storage as you need, which is great. And the battery life, oh my goodness, the battery life is just remarkable. This is the kind of device where you won't need to be sitting next to a plug all day long or worrying if you're traveling, like saying, hey, do I have to get back to the hotel room to charge this thing before I go to my next meeting? So as long as you make sure that puppy's charged for the day, odds are you're going to be just fine, which is awesome. Now, that is where the iPad Pro, as a heads up if you're leaning more towards that direction, does tend to fall a little short. And it's not due to any engineering design flaw on the Apple side. It's an incredible product, and I'm really enjoyed it as my daily driver. But what ends up happening is you got to keep in mind that the iPad Pro needs to use energy to run the touchscreen, right? Which is one more thing that it has to do that the MacBook Air and the other devices don't have a touchscreen. And on the flip side of that, something else to consider is if you have a keyboard attached, or even the Apple Pencil, because it attaches magnetically, but whenever it's attached, it's charging. And the keyboard, if you have a keyboard attached, needs to draw power from something, so it draws it from the iPad. So you've got these two things that are kind of leeching off the battery all the time, and then you add the touchscreen on top of that, one more thing that the iPad battery has to fuel. The battery's still impressive, but if you're looking for something that's going to last you a very long time, where you really don't have to worry about it, the MacBook Air might be the right one for you. So that wraps up the first part, but I do want to bring up a few bonus points, okay? So first, if you're getting value out of the video, if you could like it, maybe leave a comment down below, just letting me know what caught your interest about this, something that was helpful to you, and subscribe to the channel. That would be extremely helpful. But the next part, these bonuses that apply to everybody, right? And this might be the most important part of the entire video, now that I think about it. Whatever device you decide to purchase, whatever you choose as far as the hardware, as far as the amount of RAM you have, as far as the amount of storage you have, and for certain models, the type of M1 processor that you have, once you purchase it, that's it. The parts are not upgradable. So if you think you're like, hey, you know what, I'm not sure, but I might need a little more RAM, or I might need to get just a little more storage than whatever that base model is. If you find yourself asking that question and it's within budget, you may want to go with that next model up because you can't change it out once you get it. That's one of the drawbacks of these very, small, tight, uniform computers, is that you can't swap it out because everything's soldered onto the board, right? Now, on the flip side, there is one little cheat that you can possibly do, but it comes with a warning, right? So when it comes to storage, you might be able to get the base model and say, hey, look, I may need more storage, but I'll just get an external SSD, an external hard drive, right? Which is great. They're very handy, but there are just a couple things to consider. Is one, and this is something not a lot of people talk about, that when you have an external hard drive plugged into your device, if you delete a file off of it, it permanently deletes it right away. And this is on the Apple side, this is on Windows as well. Unlike when you delete a document from your computer, let's say, and it puts it in the trash or recycle bin, if you delete something from an external device that's connected to your computer or even your iPad Pro, it will permanently delete it. It won't go to your trash. So if you're someone who from time to time you're like, you delete it, but you're like, don't worry, it's safe, it's in my recycle bin, I can just pull it back out if I need it. That is something that I do want to urge you to be careful on, if you decide to go with the external device for greater storage, is that once you delete something, it is permanently deleted. So be warned. And the final tip I have for you guys, the final word of advice, is that the Mac Mini is the best bang for your buck device being released in this current Apple lineup. The thing is incredible. It's a powerhouse. It's small. It's lightweight. You can connect it to your monitors. In the event that you needed it to be portable and you knew you were going to a place with a monitor, keyboard, and mouse, you could bring it with you. I know it doesn't have the screen right there, but at the same time, you could do that. And I even had some fun with this, right? I took a look at the base model version of it. I took a look at some higher versions of it. At one point, I even maxed it out, and I did a comparison of the maxed out MacBook Pro versus the maxed out Mac Mini, and the Mac Mini was still hundreds of dollars less. Now, that's probably for a few reasons. One, it doesn't have a screen, right? So Apple doesn't have to charge you for that because the screens are pretty incredible. But otherwise, I mean, it's still the same parts on the inside, which is just remarkable. So you're really getting the same performance as all the other devices, but you could still max it out and get it for hundreds of dollars less than these other machines. So if portability is something that isn't important to you, you're going to be working from the office, from home, wherever, the Mac Mini honestly smokes them all. So you guys, that's all I got for you today. Very excited to see you in the next one. Again, feel free to leave a like, comment down below if you got some value out of this video, subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you next week. God bless you guys in Jesus' name. Have a great night.